Will the Lions get home field in the NFC? It's not going to be easy.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. A Friday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you today. Is Friday, December 20th, the start of the college football playoffs. I will be in South Bend tonight for Indiana and Notre Dame. Cannot wait for that, but we're into Saturday, December 21st as well. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Lions listeners and everydayers, thank you so much to all of you that check us out daily. Appreciate all of you. The podcast today brought to you by Hillsdale College. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockdown to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. Lions going to face the Bears on Sunday at Soldier Field. Another 1 o'clock game, a rare 1 o'clock game for the Lions. Cold weather, wind, everything else. But Chicago's lost 8 in a row, and some of their players are ready to be done. We'll explain that coming up momentarily. Also on the program today, Pro Football Focus put out their power rankings. Lions have taken a little bit of a dip, and this should be something that maybe puts a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. But can you argue with what PFF is saying? We'll get into that. Our call of the day today, one of our everydayers checks in. You can be our caller of the day on Call of the Day by going to our SpeakPipe voicemail system at speakpipe.com/Dairy podcast page. All right, so Lions and Bears coming up. If you missed yesterday's podcast on the crossover Thursday with Lauren Cox, the host of Locked On Bears, you heard a couple of very important nuggets. Number one, the Bears can't stop the run at all. And number two, and I talked about this a little bit Wednesday, a little bit of a buzz around Chicago, around could it be a package deal coming from Detroit to Chicago? Ben Johnson, Ray Agnew, who is Brad Holmes' right-hand man. Could Ryan Poles, Chef Poles, is Chef Poles in trouble in Chicago? Could there be a regime change there? Keep an eye on that. Ben Johnson said it the other day. Yeah, I want to be a head coach for sure. But I think everybody knows he's going to be very, very surgical on how he does this and very cautious because he's turned down jobs in the past. He's seen situations he wants no part of. I think he's told the Carolina Panthers twice in 2 years he's not interested. You know, many people think this Bears job is some cush job. I don't know about that. That is not a good organization. But yes, there's talent there. Some young players on defense. You've got your franchise quarterback, you think. And maybe Ben Johnson feels like if I can get my meat hooks into Caleb Williams, we could have something special. So we'll see about that. As far as the game goes for Sunday, keep an eye on Frank Ragnow. Back injury, hasn't practiced all week, but we're at the point in the season, folks. You're not keeping Frank Ragnow out of games. No way. Yeah, he's banged up. Yeah, he's been playing with a torn pectoral muscle and a bad back and everything. You know Frank Ragnow is going to be out there on Sunday. It's the same thing with Geno Smith this week, which we're going to get into in a second, where he's going, I'm not 100%, but I'm playing against Minnesota this weekend. And that kind of leads to our first topic today, which is the race for the 1 seed. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is very important that the Lions get the 1 seed, not because of matchups, not because of home games. I think the biggest reason the Lions need the 1 seed is they need a bye week. They need a week to rest. They haven't had a bye since week 5, which was what? October 6th. The Lions have played a lot of games. That early bye really hurt them from an injury standpoint, from a worn down standpoint. So yes, of course you want the 1 seed. You want to have all the games go through Ford Field. Nothing better than the 2 home playoff games last year when the Rams and the Bucks came in. And the crowd was raucous and loud and helped the team win both games. I was in the building for that Rams game. It was electric. I just think this team needs a breather and a break. They're not going to get one these last 3 weeks with 2 road games at Chicago, then Monday Night Football at San Francisco. And then, of course, week 18 is going to be an absolute slobber knocker against the Vikings. But I look at it as getting that bye would mean just a week off and not having to play, which I think this team desperately needs. So here's the picture right now. If you were a betting man, maybe some of you are, or woman, you would probably say the favorite to get the 1 seed based on the schedule remaining would be Philadelphia. The Lions are 12-2. The Vikings are 12-2. The Eagles, Eagles, Eagles are 12-2. Philadelphia has 3 games left. In Philadelphia, it's worth $50. Name the movie. I'll put it in the YouTube comments. Philadelphia has at Washington this Sunday. Commanders trying to get into the playoffs here. Be that last wild card spot. So they have something to play for with Jaden Daniels and company. Philly then hosts Dallas next week, and they host the Giants in week 18, and that's like playing against a 6th grade team. So Philly wins this week. They're in the driver's seat. The Lions right now control their own destiny and have the tiebreaker at the moment. The Lions win their last 3. The Vikings win their last 3. The Eagles win their last 3. The Lions are the 1 seed. But things could change. We know with the Lions, not going to be easy, especially with all the injuries. Minnesota this weekend at Seattle. They host Green Bay. And of course, they beat the Packers earlier this year at Curly Lambeau Field. And then at the Lions, week 18 for likely the division. I would think that game would be flexed to Sunday night. I would think. So you've got the Lions and Vikings schedules not as they're more difficult than Philly's. If Philly wins this week and they're playing great football, they've got 2. I think Dallas, and I know Dallas is a rivalry game, and I think the Cowboys and Giants at home in weeks 17 and 18 are as big a gimme as you can get. The Cowboys stink, and the Giants are beyond bad. They're in poop town, as Scott Van Pelt would say on the SV pod. So, you look at it and you think to yourself, the Lions can't stub their toe, or else they could end up being the 5 seed and could go anywhere from having to travel to Tampa Bay to having to, travel to Los Angeles and play the Rams in the first round of the playoffs and have to go up against Matthew Stafford again. Lions have beaten them the first 2 times. It's never easy to have to beat somebody 3 times in 2 years, right? So we'll see. But I just think it's vital, and it starts this week. I just think it's vital that things are simplified a little bit with this football team on defense. Guys start coming back, whether it's Alex Anzalone, whether it's Rakestraw, any of these guys, Emmanuel Mosley, any of these guys that maybe have a chance to return. I know we talked the other day about reality. David Montgomery getting 3 opinions and now thinking he could be back for the playoffs. Is it realistic? I'm talking about Alex Anzalone's broken forearm. If it heals, he's ready to go. It's not a leg. It's not an Achilles. It's not an ACL, right? And I think it starts this week with the Bears and just playing your defense, maybe sprinkling in a little bit more zone, maybe a few more blitzes here and there, and putting the best guys in the best positions to just succeed. It's hard to do in this league at the end of the season when you have all these guys injured. And you got guys playing hurt. Everybody's hurt right now. Not just injured. They're hurt. They're tired. And, Levi Onwuzurike, he can make himself a lot of money these next 3 weeks because now he steps into that Aleem McNeil spot next to DJ Reader. And Levi's had a good year. All right. Kind of been quiet lately, but this is a guy that could step up and as a free agent can make a lot of money. The Lions just have to take care of the football Sunday. It is that simple. Last year at Soldier Field, it was an interception and fumble fest. Jared Goff couldn't handle it. He just had a bad day. The offensive line didn't play well. The Bears were all over him. That was an ugly game last year in Chicago. I think things are going to be a little bit different this time around. Bears were feeling themselves at the end of last year. Felt like they had some momentum going into this season. Now they've lost 8 in a row, and we're about to tell you about one of their players, one of their veteran players, basically just ready to be done for the season and the off season for that matter. So we will get to that coming up next. Right here on Locked On Lions, it is a special, not a special edition, but it is a Friday edition of a Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You know it is your team every day. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. You just pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections, and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash all season long. All right. PrizePicks is America's number one, if I could read, daily fantasy sports app. It is very, very simple. No matter what the sport is, if you're thinking, all right, it's a Friday night and I want to bet on and throw some money down on, on the NBA, and I want to play players, Steph Curry, more than or less than 6 made threes. You can bet on that. Joel Embiid, more than or less than 20 points if he plays. You can bet on that. Do that with Pistons games as well as you're heading to the West Coast and so much more. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNFL, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And hey, it's that time of year. It's the college football playoff. I mentioned it before. It's back, and with a newly expanded 12-team format, it is guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports' coverage of the college football playoff begins tomorrow, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, Southern Methodist University, SMU, taking on Penn State at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset Texas in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate, live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. Shout out, by the way, to our guy Jim Nagy, who was on the program earlier this week. Go back and watch Jim. I believe was on Tuesday with us, or listen. Executive Director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. I love Jim Nagy. How about this one? Jim Nagy yesterday interviewed for the New York Jets general manager's job. Joe Douglas was fired weeks ago. Jim getting an opportunity would be awesome. Jim was made to be an NFL GM. Jim should have talked to the Lions a long time ago. When they hired Bob Quinn, Jim should have been considered. So kudos to Jim. Good luck, Jim. I hope it happens for you, brother. That would be fantastic. All right, so this offseason, the Chicago Bears, everybody was really raving about their big trio of DJ Moore, the wide receiver, who's coming back for a second year, but the additions of Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. Allen, of course, in free agency, or I think that was actually a trade from the Chargers, and Odunze was drafted in the first round. DJ Moore is a good football player. But DJ Moore messed up this week, and now he has taken the brunt of it from the Chicago media. And again, this is something, and I talk about this all the time, this is something you would never, ever, under Dan Campbell, hear a Detroit Lions say. The media was surrounding DJ Moore's locker the other day, and they asked him, what are you most looking forward to this offseason? In terms of the coaching search, or working on the offense, or getting with Caleb Williams for another offseason where the two of you can go to some high school field in Florida or California, run routes. What are you looking forward to the most this offseason? And kind of in jest, DJ Moore said, vacation. I can't wait for vacation. I'm done. Now, the Bears still have 3 games left. The question was asked about the offseason. But now DJ Moore is getting skewered on ESPN 1000 and 670 The Score. And I had some friends send me some stuff about this because basically he's like, get me out of here. Players say things in jest. I'm not going to go crazy over it. But here's what I will say about what DJ Moore said. It's a mindset with 3 games left that a lot of times you hear players say, I got 3 more games to go. We got Detroit this Sunday. And it's a boring answer, right? Not as exciting as going vacation. I'm ready to be out of here and for vacation. But again, it causes a stir in Chicago because that has been such a bad franchise for so long. And players, you can tell, are ready to be done with this year. They've lost 8 in a row, started off 4-2. Now they're 4-10. So if you see a little quit in DJ Moore or you see some shrugged shoulders on Sunday, the Lions have got to take advantage of that. The Lions have got to go into Chicago, punch the Bears in the mouth, and send them on vacation early. And hopefully empty the bench. Maybe we'll get to see Hendon Hooker on Sunday. Wouldn't that be great? No, the Bears have given the Lions fits the last few years, including on Thanksgiving Day, where it looked like the Lions were going to cruise to a victory. Gibbs fumbles the ball, and the Bears scored 21 points in the second half, or whatever it was, 20 points in the second half. So I think this game will be close. I do think the Lions are going to win, as I predicted. I think I said 27-17 or something like that, 30-17, something like that with Lauren yesterday. But I just feel like when you got players openly admitting they can't wait to be done and want vacation over saying something like, yep, can't wait to build my body up this offseason. Can't wait to work with Caleb again. Looking forward to, and he made a point, DJ Moore, of saying too, he's hoping for an offensive-minded head coach. He answered that later on. But to kind of just blurt out vacation, probably not the best look when you're a veteran leader there. As far as what national people are saying about the Lions, we've heard this, and Panay Sewell talked about the other day, to get off the bandwagon. Aaron Glenn is saying, hold on a second, the sky's not falling. But Pro Football Focus, PFF, put out their weekly power rankings the other day. And for the first time in a while, the Lions are not in the top 2. Not even 1, not even 2. Kansas City is 1. Philadelphia is 2. Buffalo is 3. They should be. They beat the Lions. And the Lions are 4. Followed by Baltimore, Minnesota, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Houston, and Denver. The Lions' opponent this week, the Chicago Bears. Touchdown Bears. The Bears are 25th in the league. PFF writes in regards to the Lions. Lions suffered their first loss since week 2 in a high-scoring game against the Bills, dropping to 12-2 and giving the Vikings a chance to challenge for the NFC North title after their Monday night win. Bad news got worse with David Montgomery being lost for the season due to an MCL tear, which, by the way, he got a third opinion, and some reports say he could be back for late in the playoffs. Lions are already dealing with numerous injuries, so the question now is whether their depth can carry them the rest of the way. Amon-Ra St. Brown continues to shine with his 86.7 PFF grade, ranking 5th among receivers. Anybody have any issues with the Lions dropping from 1 to 4 in the PFF rankings? Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, and Lions. I have no issue with the Lions being behind Buffalo because I'm a little bit old school. You lose to the Bills should be ranked ahead of you. Eagles are rolling right now. We know that. All right. And their percentage chance to win the NFC in Vegas is at 33%. Their defense, by the way, according to Pro Football Focus, is the highest graded in the league. Philadelphia at 87.8. Their defense is really starting to come on. And those 2 young cornerbacks, I loved Cooper DeJean in the draft, and Quinyon Mitchell are really, really good. And Jalen Carter, as long as he's not fighting on the sidelines with his coach, Nick Sirianni, is a force as well. Lions dropping down in the power rankings, everybody. Let's just see what happens this week. Let's just see if Kansas City can continue to eke out wins. Let's see if Buffalo is going to have a little bit of a hangover after 2 huge road wins. What about Philly? At Washington Sunday is not going to be an easy game. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are smelling blood. They can smell a playoff berth. And yes, the Washington football team was in the playoffs just a few years ago. Taylor Heineke was quarterbacking them, but it seems like ages since the Commanders, Redskins, Washington football team, whatever you call them, were really relevant, and they are now. So we'll see. I think the Lions can make a nice statement this weekend and get some of the doubters off their backs. I'm not a doubter, and I'm not a hater. I'm just a realist. I think it's going to be difficult to get to the Super Bowl with all of these injuries. But I still think the Lions can win these last 3 games. I do. I absolutely do. And be the 1 seed, which, like I said before, would be massive. All right. Call of the day coming up next. We're going to keep it positive with our call of the day. This was an extremely, extremely positive call of the day today. And we'll do that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. If I could find. Oh, some days, folks, you just have one of those days. And I'm having one of them today. All right. Call of the day next. But first, we told you earlier about our friends at Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend your time wisely to improve yourself? Well, how about Hillsdale College? They offer so many great courses like history, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution, and so much more. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, offering more than 40 free classes. That's right, free online courses that include all the stuff I mentioned before, plus throw in that free market economics, Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and so much more. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so that you can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. No cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, folks, as we have talked about, we love our audience's participation, whether you are chiming in on social media, our Matt Derry Facebook fan page, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Threads, or, of course, on our YouTube comments. Appreciate all of you chiming in. I owe a big catch up on everydayers. We'll be with you on Sunday following the Lions and Bears game. I'm going over yearly tradition. Many of you know the executive producer, as I like to call him, Nathan Litke. I will be over at Nathan's brothers Brandon's house, the great Brandon and Rainey Litke and their 17 kids. I'll be there Sunday for our annual tradition of me watching a road game at their home. But the game ends, I will be home, and I will be bringing you a Sunday edition of Locked On Lions. Let's do this. Call of the day. Again, speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page. Our man Ross Bars checks in on today's call of the day. Take a listen.
Hey, Matt Derry. My name is Ross Bars. I am from Holland, Michigan, but I currently live over in the west suburbs of Chicago. My question is about, as the Lions are making their Super Bowl run, what are your thoughts on players returning from injured reserve to compete as they haven't competed or played all year, and how that might impact our level of competitiveness during the Super Bowl, as well as what the future looks like for these players and creating a Lions dynasty over the next few years.
Thank you, Ross Bars. Ross is very positive. He brought up dynasty and he brought up Super Bowl. And he's like, oh, the Lions are just going to make their Super Bowl run. Here's the thing, Ross. This team, all the talk about injuries, all the talk about what they need to do in the future, what do they got to do for their Super Bowl run, all of this, none of that needs to be discussed right now. What needs to be talked about is Chicago. They have got to win this football game on Sunday. If the Lions lose on Sunday, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. The Lions need to win this game. And I know they're in the playoffs. They're going to be playing in the postseason. I'm just telling you, they got to win this game this week. From a mental and psyche standpoint, taking on an inferior team whose players basically can't wait to be on vacation, team that's lost 8 in a row, a team the Lions have not played well, even in victories, even in wins. Second half on Thanksgiving was bad. Last year, the game in Detroit that the Lions won against Justin Fields, where they needed to hang on at the bitter end and get the Hutchinson strip sack, was choppy in that second half. Lions need to make a statement this week. Get back to that ground game. Pound Jahmyr Gibbs. Get Craig Reynolds. Come on, Craig. Get him involved. Jamar Jefferson may get some touches. That Bears run defense is 26th in the league. Make them pay. This is an important game this Sunday. It is. So talking about Super Bowls and dynasties and what they need to do down the road, let's just focus on this week and this game on Sunday. You know what I smell and sniff out this weekend? An Amik Robertson interception. I think Amik Robertson's picking off a pass this weekend. I think he's ready. I think he's played well. That's something I like, and I see in the Lions' future. But Ross, I love the optimism. I do. Dynasties, and this is a young team. The window is open, and it's staying open. You know, if this year the injuries catch up to them and they end up losing earlier than we want, and look, the NFC's tough. Rams are no slouch. Tampa Bay is no slouch. Philadelphia is really good. Green Bay's good. Minnesota, they're 12-2. You know, someone asked me the other day, who'd you want to play in the playoffs in the NFC? I'm like, none of these teams right now. Got to play the Rams for a third time in 2 years. We got to play Tampa 3 times in 2 years if that happens. Those teams are all really, really solid, really, really sound teams. It's the teams at the bottom that are so bad in this league. All right, this has been a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. Don't forget Jake Riepma on Locked On Sports Detroit right here on our network. We'll be on with the postcast. That's a live show on YouTube Sunday after the game. My show will be Sunday about an hour and a half afterwards. All right, as I record the Sunday show. Be safe out there for those of you driving in the snow, and we'll talk to you again Sunday afternoon.